Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about the Gunpowder Empire, so known because they use gunpowder to expand their territory. Remember, gunpowder is going to be invented under the Tang and Song dynasties, and so this is it moving to the Middle Eastern area in India. Our three gunpowder empires are the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid Empire, and the Mughal Empire. The Ottomans are in modern-day Turkey. They're the ones who take over and conquered the Byzantine Empire. The Safavids are going to be in modern-day Iran, and the Mughals are going to be in India. We study them together because they have a number of similarities. They are all Islamic, even though in India it's going to be primarily Hindu country. The leaders of the Mughals themselves are going to be Islamic. They all have lavish empires. They're all very wealthy, and you can see that wealth in their public gardens, public baths, their artwork, etc. They also have similar reasons for decline: corruption in the government, weak leaders, and overexpansion, which we've seen before with our decline of empires. They're also constantly at war with each other, especially the Ottomans and the Safavids. In this video, I'm going to focus just on the Ottomans and the Safavids and do a separate video for the Mughals. So let's go ahead and start with the Ottomans. The Ottomans, again, take over. They're the ones who conquered the Byzantine Empire. And so what was once Constantinople is now Istanbul. There are two leaders that you really need to know about in the Ottoman Empire. The first is Mehmed II, who is the one who is going to conquer the Byzantine Empire. The second is Suleiman the Magnificent, and he is known for his expansion of the Ottoman Empire, and the way that he ruled was just really beneficial. Lots of wealth coming into the Ottoman Empire. Suleiman the Magnificent also had a pretty hardcore mustache. Again, the Ottomans are Turkish, which is why today the area, or part of the area, is called Turkey. And they're going to last from, the end of the Byzantine Empire all the way up into World War I. So it's going to be a very long-lasting empire. Their territory will expand out to modern-day Syria, Egypt, North Africa, Greece, the Balkans, obviously modern-day Turkey. They're even going to make it as far as modern-day Hungary. The Ottoman Empire is technically a part of Europe because, again, it goes into Hungary and Greece and the Balkans. But it's kind of the redhead stepchild of Europe, it and Russia. In AP Euro, when we talk about what's going on in Europe, we'll talk about something, and then in the arena it'll be like, oh, and this is going on in the Ottoman Empire, and this is going on in Russia. Even though both are a part of Europe, they're culturally very different from the rest of Europe, which is why they're kind of the redhead stepchild. The Ottoman rule was very strict. It was an absolute rule. The rulers were called sultans. They're very distant from the people. They didn't exactly listen to the needs of the people and implement it. They would have absolute control over who ran the government, and they used this through the system of the dishmir. So what they would do is they would go and capture young Christian boys, which often the families would give them up because it would be a higher position for them. And we do have religious freedom, which we'll come back to. And so they would take these young Christian boys, make them become eunuchs so they wouldn't worry about a family, convert them to Islam, and either raise them to be part of the army or part of the government. So these boys, when they grow up, are loyal just to their ruler. When they're called soldiers, it's janissaries. Otherwise, it's the dishmir. A sultan would often, scratch members of the government and hierarchs in the army when he took over from the last sultan. So again, they would be loyal just to him. It was also very competitive. For example, if a sultan had 4 sons, they would often try and kill each other, have plots to kill each other in order to succeed their father and become sultan. Again, we do have religious freedom under the Ottomans with, the exception of the dishmir. But often Christian families would want their sons to go into the dishmir because it means that they would be members of the government and they could have some authority and power. But as far as just everyday people, Christians and Jews had religious freedom under the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire had a rich culture. They converted a lot of Byzantine churches, such as the Hagia Sophia, into mosque. They also had religious schools where the curriculum was based on Islam, and hospitals. They would have lavish gardens, a lot of them public gardens. We have a lot of art coming out of the Ottoman Empire. Art was valued. We also have coffee houses where people would smoke tobacco, and that's a practice that, kind of migrates its way from the West. And in these coffee houses, much like in the saloons in Europe, this is where all of the thinkers and movers of the day would come together to discuss ideas. They also have guilds, much like in Europe, where artisans would set standards for their craft. The Ottomans are going to decline in their position of power because of overexpansion. Again, we see this a lot with empires. We also have corruption in the government. That distance between the Sultan and their people are going to really come into play with the decline. We also have weak rulers, weak sultans, who'll have internal issues. They once had dominance of the Mediterranean Sea, and they're going to lose that dominance to the Spanish. And the Ottomans are just behind Western Europe in development, especially in military development. After the decline, the Ottoman Empire will still kind of tucker along until World War I. Next we have the Safavids, and the Safavids are unique with their gunpowder empires because they are Shia Islam, whereas the Ottomans and the Mughals are both Sunni Islam. The Safavids are Shia, and their initial rulers are going to be very much influenced by the Sufi mystics, and so they're going to have a very different view of Islam than the rest of the gunpowder empires. The Safavids are Turkish, but they are going to adopt a lot of the practices of the Persians because they're conquering that area of the world. So they're going to adopt particularly the Turkish. So for example, they're going to adopt the Persian language. The leader of the Safavids is known as the Shah, and up until about, Jimmy Carter's presidency, the ruler in Iran is going to be known as the Shah. They do not have religious freedom like the Ottomans. There's going to be a lot of pressure for people in the Safavid Empire to convert to Islam. They also have a rich culture. They implement a public road system. They also build a lot of mosques and have public gardens and public baths. The Safavids are going to decline because of weak leaders and corruption. One thing about the Ottomans and the Safavids that's very similar is their patriarchal society. Even though they have a patriarchal society, the wives of the rulers are very influential in their role. And they're going to try to use Islamic law to gain more rights for women. That's all I have for you with the Ottomans and Safavids. In next video, we will look at the Mughals. I'll see you then.